Well, hello everyone. Politics is heating up all across North America, but today we have one of the best politicians, Maxime Bernier. Stay with us. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the beginning of the last days. My name is Laura-Lynn Thompson, and I'm pretty excited because one of the greatest, most strongly standing politicians filled with character is right here today to tell us what's going on in Canada. And you know, I always also say that there are lots of politicians who stand with character, but very few, and I don't even know if there's lots. That's not even true. There's a few, but very few stand the way that Maxime Bernier has. And if you know his history and what he gave up in order to stand for what is right, you would really celebrate this man. And so, okay, let us look at my dad's Bible. I miss my dad every single day, but this makes me feel closer to him. He was an incredible man. He loved the word. This Bible has verses in it that are strewn across Parliament. Did you know that? I think that there's something like 27 verses. It's some number that are embedded into the very building at Parliament. And so I hope that those are being preserved as they sort of knock down walls and change everything around. Our country, even our Charter of Freedoms and Rights, is based on the sovereignty of God. So my dad had underlined, I always love reading what was important to him. It's just like a treasure to me to be able to kind of feel what my dad might have felt as he underlined these words. And so the book opened today to Psalms, I think we're in Psalms 18. Yes. And so this is verse 28, 29. For you will light my candle. The Lord my God will enlighten my darkness. Do you ever feel like you're in darkness? Well, God knows how to make that light. And for by thee I have run through a troop, and by my God have I leaped over a wall. It actually goes on to say, to talk about powerful warfare. And when somebody does something amazing, it's not just them, it's the destiny that was designed for them to be living. And that is definitely true of Maxime Bernier. I'm so privileged and so proud to be a PPC supporter. And we're going to bring you on today, Maxime. There's just all kinds of nutty stuff going on in the news, and we want to get a bit of information from you. Welcome.
Thank you, Laura-Lynn. I'm very happy, very pleased to be with you. And, I'm just doing my best and try to push common sense ideas based on facts and truth. And that's why I'm in politics. And I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity to speak to you today.
You are definitely common sense. Everything that you talk about from the very beginning, you understand what a woman is. You know what a man is. You're very common sense about all of that. There's no confusion going on in the People's Party of Canada with all of this, but there seems to be confusion in the Conservative Party of Canada. They voted into a standing ovation Bill C4, which can criminalize people for being, even parents, psychologists, for being concerned about someone who feels like they're having gender orientation problems. There's all of that. And there's also just the confusion about, pouring Canadian dollars, for instance, into wars like the Ukraine. And this is something that you've come out with, saying, let's support Canada. Let's take care of Canada first.
Yes, absolutely. And, when that war started, it was very easy for us to have a position and take a position based on our platform. We always said that we are putting our country first and Canadian first. So we didn't want to send money to Ukraine. Now, I believe that the federal government, with the support of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, did spend about 12 or 14 billion dollars to Ukraine. That's the money that we don't have for Canadians. And that war is a proxy war between the US and Russia. and we don't have to participate in that. And I really appreciate what happened in the US a couple of days ago when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. delivered a speech, and he said that he will support Donald Trump, and he said that he will support him for 3 reasons. And the first one is the war in Ukraine. Trump was always against the wars under his presidency. We didn't have any war, and so in the beginning he said we don't have to have a new enemy as Russia. So Robert F. Kennedy and Trump, they're the only 2 politicians in the US that are ready to fight for their people, for the Americans. And I want to do the same thing here in Canada. And actually, as you know, Laura-Lynn, the role of our country at the international scene was always historically the same: peacekeeper, and promote peace and prosperity. And it's not in our history to be out there and to help Ukraine, that is a democracy, yes, but a real corrupt democracy, to help them to fight against Russia. Russia is our neighbor, and we don't want to participate in that war. And I believe that, I hope so, that war will end soon. Actually, if President Trump is elected, that will be the end of that proxy war. But for us, Canada, we are spending money and resources that we don't have, and we must bring that back home.
Yeah, 100%. I was quickly trying to find something here. We've got some construction going on in the background. Everybody, please forgive us. But take a look at this, JT. If you have my share, I'm not sure. But you mentioned RFK. This is staggering. This is the switch around from. Oh my word! I'm so sorry. As soon as I'm talking, it was quiet. Okay, so RFK, like, this is true Democrat. And he has literally decided that he's jumping ship to the other side. I think in days to come, this is what's going to happen, is that we're going to see people jumping ship from one party to the other because they can no longer stand the progressive and ridiculous policies of the party.
Absolutely. And what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did is very courageous, because, he's fighting for what he believes, and he wants, Americans to be healthy. He wants Americans to be in peace and not in war. And he is ready to fight against censorship. Actually, he is the politician that the mainstream media, the CIA, and all these institutions tried to censor and did censor. And actually, he won a case. And so fighting against censorship, it's important. We must do that. And we don't have that. We don't have real debates right now in Canada or in the US, because if you want to debate a radical leftist, they won't. They know that they cannot win the argument, and they don't want to debate. What they will do, they will cancel you, and like that, you won't be able to promote your ideas. But what Robert F. Kennedy is doing right now, speaking about the real issues with Donald Trump, I strongly believe that it will make a difference the day of the election in the US. And I want to do the same. I always spoke against censorship. I'm shadow banned on social media. It's very difficult to grow our supporters. And we need to have these real debates, and it's difficult to have that on social media.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of that, I want to show you this clip today. It's amazing. This is mind-boggling. Mark Zuckerberg from Meta has sent a letter to Representative Jim Jordan admitting to that White House pressure to censor information on COVID and the election caused him to quieten the social media. And I think that happens in Canada as well. This is really mind-blowing and epic. So take a look.
Good morning. And the reason that we know about this letter that Mark Zuckerberg sent to Jim Jordan is because Jim Jordan posted it. So about COVID censorship, Mark Zuckerberg writes, in 2021, senior officials of the Biden administration, including those from the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 related content, including humor and satire, and expressed significant frustration when we did not meet their demands. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. On that point, a few minutes ago, a White House official told us when confronted with a deadly pandemic, this administration encouraged responsible actions to protect public health and safety. Our position has been clear and consistent. We believe tech companies and other private actors should take into account the effects their actions have on the American people while making independent choices about the information they present. And that's not all. Zuckerberg is also writing about Hunter Biden censorship. He says, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while we were waiting for a reply. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation, and in retrospect, we should not have demoted the story. I asked President Biden about this. At the time, his team was apparently trying to censor this Hunter content.
Well, think about, the mistakes that they've made. And they said, he even said in another post that I saw that had they known what they knew now regarding COVID, regarding Hunter Biden and his laptop, I mean, what about all the money and the funds, that have been flowing from China into the Biden family? That's all coming out, but still the media won't cover it. But it's not just all of that, but I remember how stories regarding Maxime Bernier were censored, how the People's Party of Canada, you have been what they have feared most, somebody who's talking common sense about, certainly about COVID and about many other issues that we're facing today. And this has happened to your party.
Yes, absolutely. During COVID-19, as you know, I went into jail to fight for our freedoms in Manitoba because at that time I was supposed to do a big rally in Winnipeg speaking against the COVID restrictions, the COVID hysteria. And the premier over there said, Bernier, you're not welcome in Manitoba, you're not vaccinated. And, if you come to Manitoba, you may suffer the rule of law and something like that he said in a press conference. But, I was in Manitoba. I did a tour across the country. I called that at that time the Mad Max tour. Yes, because I was mad with all these COVID restrictions, not based on science and actually not following our Constitution, against our Charter of Rights. And I was not alone. With a lot of Canadians all across the country, we were fighting for common sense, for our freedoms. But, because they didn't want me to do that rally, they arrested me, handcuffed, and put in jail for a non-crime for 12 hours in Manitoba. Yeah, and so now you have that. You have the Facebook and the social media by his owner that are saying, oh, sorry about that. Yes, we did censor you, but now I won't do that again. But shame on you, shame on them. If you are in a democracy, you need to be able to have the other point of view. And we know that we were right. That was not based on science. That vaccine was not safe and effective. And actually, they changed the definition of vaccine to be able to say it's a vaccine. It was, it was a pseudo vaccine that was not safe and effective. But we were saying that to people, but they didn't want that. They wanted to control the narrative, and they wanted to be sure that Canadians and Americans will fear the COVID and will jump into that narrative to have a couple of shots as soon as possible. That was a shame, and now we want to have a discussion about that in Canada. But all these media and these other establishment political parties are saying, no, we don't want to discuss that. Turn the page. No. But, we must remember what happened there, because we don't want that to happen again another time. Having other lockdowns for the climate, for example, that can happen. But Laura-Lynn, you can count on us. We will always fight for what is right. And, if it's not that popular that day, we know that we have the best ideas, the best vision for this country, and the more we are speaking about our ideas, the more support we have, and that's the People's Party. So we are there, and we always fight for Canadians.
What would you describe the difference between the People's Party policy on climate change and Pierre Poilievre's, conservative policies?
But the most important one difference is the fact that Pierre Poilievre is in agreement with the Paris Accord. He's okay with that, and he will try to do everything to achieve the targets in the Paris Accord. So he believes in a net zero emission in 2050, and he will impose more regulations on businesses. I agree that he won't impose a carbon tax, but he will impose other measures to be sure to achieve the targets. And so you'll have more regulation, you may have another tax. And also, he agrees also with Trudeau about giving subsidies to green industry, and he wants us in Canada to be sure that we will be able to buy green cars. And I believe that it's not the case. We don't have to do that. The consumers will decide. And for us, the big difference is we will withdraw from the Paris Accord. That's it. There's no climate hysteria. There's no climate emergency. And the climate is changing, yes, and it will always change. So that for us, we will work to be sure that all these nonsense will end, and we will repeal the legislation that Trudeau just passed about, having a electric car only in couple of years. So I believe that if you want to help Canadians, you must tell them the truth about the climate. And Poilievre is not doing that. He's afraid of the media. He's pandering to the leftist big cities in our country. And his goal is only to be in power, but he will do the same like Trudeau is doing right now on climate change. So there's a huge difference. We believe that the climate is changing, but we believe also at the same time that that's not our job to save the world, and that there's no danger about the fact that the climate is changing. It's always been, and it will be always the case. So let's do things that are more important for Canadians than try to fight an idea that is not based on science against.
I want to talk to you about something funny that happened when you were running, I think the last huge election. And this fellow, who's a great supporter of yours, took out a billboard. It had nothing to do with you. You didn't know about it, but it says, say no to mass immigration. And at that time, the media was all over you about this. But a few years later, when the United States of America has welcomed, 12 to 15 million illegal migrants across their borders, many more, I think in the last 3 years or so, I believe that we've gone from 38 million up to 41 or something like that. So we've brought in 3 million people somewhere. And maybe no one's going to give you as bad a time anymore about your perspective on mass immigration.
Yes, we were right at that time, and we are even more right today about that. And yes, it was a little bit difficult for myself and also for our candidates at the election in 2019, because the mainstream media were saying, oh, you don't have the right to question immigration level. If you're doing that, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, and you cannot do it. And actually, at the same time, the Conservative Party of Canada did spend about $160,000 to discredit us, by inventing things that were not true. And so they spend money to discredit the People's Party and our candidates. And I want to thank our candidates that were with us during that election in 2019. It was a tough election. But now, like you just said, it will be very difficult to say that we are racist. And I remember in 2019, I was on the stage. I was able to debate against Trudeau and all these leaders. And Jack Mead said to me during that debate that, I must not be on the stage because, I don't share the same point of view of everybody on the stage about immigration, saying that, Bernier, you're a racist. I don't understand why I'm debating with you. So, but it will be very difficult. I believe I'll be at the next general election. I'll be able to debate because they said at the last election that, the People's Party of Canada needs 4% of the vote to be able to be on the stage. We had 5%, so I will be there. And that will be interesting because I will bring that mass immigration. As you know, our position on immigration now is a moratorium. We need to have a moratorium on immigration as soon as possible because that is having an effect on our standard of living, housing, the education system, healthcare system. So that's having a big impact on our society. So we need to stop that. We need to have a moratorium for a couple of years. And I will debate that. And that will be interesting because Polyev and the Liberals, they all open borders and they all agree. And Polyev is pandering to different ethnic communities to be sure to have their votes. And he's a little bit like Trudeau. If you look at his Twitter account, every weekend Polyev is somewhere pandering to an ethnic community and having a different costume like Trudeau. So we are not doing that. For us, if you're an Hindu Canadian, you are a Canadian, and I'm not pandering to you for your vote as a participant in a community. I want everybody to integrate our society. That's the big difference with us and all these establishment parties, including the Conservative Party of Canada.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. You couldn't hear what I was saying. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I will start from the beginning. So Trudeau says, Justin Trudeau basically, he says we're reducing the number of low-wage temporary foreign workers because even Trudeau realizes that we've got a problem, right? Like, okay, maybe we do need to do something here. And your comment, and this was either yesterday or the day before, but you have wondered why Poilievre never pressured the Liberals to reduce the number of foreign workers. He never even said something as mild and obvious as Trudeau said yesterday. It's because the fake Conservatives are even worse than the Liberals when it comes to mass immigration.
Absolutely, absolutely. Poilievre wants to win the ethnic votes and is afraid to tell the truth to Canadians. And that's why that debate against him will be interesting because Poilievre and Trudeau on mass immigration, they're the same. But now Trudeau is a little bit more courageous. He won't admit that he created that problem first, but at least he understands that there's a problem. Our young Canadians are not able to have a summer job right now, and we don't need, low. We don't need these all temporary foreign workers. That's cheap labor for big corporation. We don't need that. If a big corporation is not able to find a Canadian for a job, it's because maybe the salary is too low. They just have to increase the salary and they will be able to find a Canadian. And if they don't want to do that, they just have to invest in enhancing productivity with more robotic. The solution is there, and if they're doing that, the productivity of our economy will go up. Now Trudeau and Poilievre were able and to give them what they wanted, cheap labor. and that was against our Canadians workers. So now at least Trudeau will do something, a small step, but it's a step in the right direction. But Polyev didn't have the courage to speak for Canadians workers. No, because when he's pandering to these communities, they want to have more people coming to our country. They want to have the reunification of family. So that's what Polyev is telling them. Yes, you'll be able to have your the big family, your brothers, sisters, and grandmom and grandpa. No, when you come here as an immigrant, it's a big decision. You have the right to come with your immediate family, your wife, your husband, and your kids, and that's it. But Polyev and Trudeau, their definition of family, it's a big, huge family with with the parents, the grandparents, and the brothers and the sisters. So yeah, it's a big challenge for Canadians right now, but Trudeau is doing just a little, and we need to have that moratorium. That's our position. That will be the real solution, the immediate real solution.
You've been traveling the country, Maxime, and you are talking about the inflation. How did we get here? You understand finances better than anyone who's in the parliament right now. You actually have had your career built around understanding finances, why we have inflation, about the debt that Canada has now gotten, on its back, which will be heaped onto the backs of our grandchildren at this point. But what do you make of what we're going through financially in this country?
Yeah, I believe that we are in a recession, that it just started, and that's why it will be very tough for everybody. You have that recession, and you have at the same time inflation. And why we have inflation? It's simple, because in Ottawa we are not balancing our budget. You need to balance the budget, and you can do that in 1 year. Polyev is not speaking about balancing the budget in 1 year. He said maybe during a term, but we need to do that, because if you don't balance the budget, the Bank of Canada is in a position to buy Canadian bonds. And by doing that, because the federal government is spending more money than it is receiving from taxpayers, so there's a deficit, and the Bank of Canada and also the private sector are buying Canadian bonds. And when the Bank of Canada is doing that, that is printing money out of thin air. And so when you have more money chasing fewer goods, you have inflation. And all that started with the COVID hysteria. And when Trudeau did that huge deficit, the Bank of Canada was buying at that time Canadian bonds. And now we still have a deficit of $40 billion. And the interest that we are paying on that deficit 4 years ago, it was about $25 billion a year that we are paying in interest just on our debt. And $25 billion, it's a lot of money. But now, because the debt is bigger and because the interest rate is a little bit higher also, the interest that we are paying on our debt, it's $48 billion. Laura-Lynn, imagine what we can do with $48 billion, how many hospitals we can build. So that's money that we are throwing in the windows. So that's why we need to balance the budget. Doing that, the Bank of Canada won't be able to create money out of thin air. We won't have inflation, because it's simple. When people are saying, oh, the big corporation, are greedy, they are increasing their prices, and that's why we have inflation. No, we have inflation. It's always because of a bad monetary policy. Because just stay with me, Laura-Lynn, if you have the same amount of money in circulation in the economy, for example, if in the economy there's only, $1 million, so if a price of a product is going up, the price of another product will have to go down. So you won't have inflation when you don't create money out of thin air. So if grocery is going up, a price on a good will have to go down when you have the same amount of money in circulation in the economy. So that's what we want to do, because we will balance the budget. We will tell the Bank of Canada to end the creation of money out of thin air by telling the Bank of Canada zero inflation target. And so zero inflation target, that means that we won't have inflation. Everybody will be richer. But Polyev won't speak about that. He's speaking about inflation, but he's not speaking about the real solution to fight inflation.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you're talking about it, because a lot of the YouTube videos that are out from economists and financiers, what they're saying is that this printing of money is about to come to a very disturbing halt, that we're at a place where we can no longer keep playing Monopoly. And so we've got the BRICS nations, right? And they're basing their currency on gold, while we continue to go, oh, if I need more money, I'll just print money. So, we were talking about what one guy had said, if you can print money, just print money to cover our taxes then.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's so good printing money and, there's no cost at it, print money for everybody. But that cannot happen, because when you print money like that, with money, you're not rich because you have money. You're rich because you produce something. You need to produce first, and after that, you've been paid for that. The production is what is important for our country and for an individual. You want to have a salary, you need to produce, you need to work. But when there's no production and you are creating money like that, you are creating inflation. And when you're doing that, the financial market is looking at that, and the confidence is going down, and they're asking you for a better interest rate because the risk is higher, so they want a better interest rate. So the interest rate are going up, and you cannot have a prosperous country if you're still doing that, having deficit and printing money out of thin air. And you're right now, we will have the competition of the BRICS countries, because yes, if you look at the foreign central bankers, they are buying gold as a reserve, because they know that the US dollar, that is the international currency that countries are using for their international transaction, less and less country are ready to use the US dollar. They want to have an alternative, and the BRICS countries are looking at it, and they want to create a new alternative based on gold. When that will happen, that will have a huge impact in the US, because all these dollars will go back to the US and they will have inflation. And so if they have inflation, the US dollar will go down, and the economy, the Canadian economy, is very linked with the US economy. We are exporting 80% of our productions to the US. Will have a huge impact also here in Canada. So we need to be aware of that. We need to have discussion, political discussion. But no, in Canada, the mainstream establishment politicians don't want to have a discussion about that. Our bank, the Bank of Canada, does not have any gold reserve. So that will have a huge impact when the BRICS countries will come with their alternative to the US dollar. We need to have that discussion to be ready for that. And that's why I'm speaking about it. It's very important for the future prosperity of our country.
Yes, and a lot of people have said Maxime Bernier is going to quit. This is the end. This is so many headlines, the end of the PPC, and yet you continue. In fact, you just had an incredible gathering of hundreds of PPC people who showed up to have a convention. How is it going? How do you see the progression? You are a viable party. People do have a choice. I said to someone yesterday, they go, we know Maxime's the best, but we're just so afraid, and it's still the same thing. We got to get Trudeau out. That's what they said the last time. Never worked, but hopefully we do get Trudeau out. But we're still putting in someone that's like, Trudeau 2.0. And if everyone made the decision, I told them, for my vote goes to who I believe could run this country the best. If everyone did that, then we could turn this thing upside down. I believe the day of your party is coming, but you're still going, and you're not quitting.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. And yes, we had a very good revision conference, our conference with all our PPC candidates and members. And the goal of that conference was for us to be ready for the next election. Up to now, we have about 165 candidates selected and approved and ready to run when we'll have that general election. And our goal is to have a full slate of candidates. That will happen. We'll have a full slate, so 343 candidates. So every Canadian will be able to vote in line with their values. And you're right, Laura-Lynn, when you said, "Oh, Maxime, I like your ideas, but I want to get rid of Trudeau." The good news about that is Trudeau is so bad right now. People are so fed up with Trudeau that look at the polls, Trudeau is not winning. So what I'm saying to Canadians, look at the polls. Maybe Polyev will have a huge majority. And so if that happens, you need the People's Party to be there to keep him honest and to keep him in the right direction. Because Polyev is not doing politics by conviction. He's doing politics by polling and focus group. So there's no risk. At the next election, you won't have any risk because, look at the polls. If you believe in the polls, Polyev will win with a majority. And so you are able now to vote for what you believe, to vote for what you believe, to vote for something. Because if you want something, you will have, a better chance to have what you want if you vote for what you want. So the PPC will be there. We will be there at the next election to keep Polyev honest. We will support Polyev when he'll be a real conservative, and we will shame him when he won't. So it's a win-win for the next election. There's no risk voting for the People's Party.
Right. I see exactly what you're saying. Like if there would be, 2, 3, 4 ridings across this land that would have the courage to vote for who they actually believe, would run this. And if they're, I know you have some great candidates. You've got 2 by-elections going on right now, and we should put the word out, just say those out loud so that, we can, we can have people voting for these folks that are going to be running for you. But what you're saying is, if the people of Canada would have the courage to have you in just 2 to 3, 4 ridings, then you have the voice to be able to keep Polyev honest, and you would be, constantly putting out the talking points, and he would have to, because he does follow you. Like everything that you've been talking about, he's finally coming around. He didn't support the truckers. Now he supports the truckers. You had lots to say about vaccine mandates. Now he's more vocal about things like that. Hopefully he'll just continue to embrace your policies 100%.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a lot of courage. We need to be there to push him a little bit. And that's why I'm saying Polyev is not a leader. Polyev is a follower. He is following the public opinion. And we know that the public opinion has been manipulated by the mainstream media, by the leftists, by the woke. So we are there as a political party to inform the public opinion, to educate them on the real important issues. And so that's why the way that we are doing politics, for us, it's looking at changes in the mid-long term. For Polyev, his only goal is to be in power. And when he'll be in power, he will look at the survey and polling, and he won't govern in line with conviction. The best example of that, Laura-Lynn, is Stephen Harper. I was part of his government. We had a minority government in 2006, another minority government in 2008, but a majority government in 2011. And I said to myself at that time, oh, we'll have a real conservative government. We'll have a smaller government, more freedom. But no, that was not the case. Stephen Harper at that time did the biggest deficit in the history of our country. Stephen Harper was a good manager of a big fat government, and Stephen Harper didn't do anything for Western Canadians, didn't change the equalization formula, and he was spending a lot of money. So Polyev and Stephen Harper did that because he was looking at the polls and he wanted to be reelected with a majority. So Polyev, he will do the same. When he'll be elected, he will look at the polls, he won't have the courage. So we need to be there to push him and to force him to do the real conservative, bold reforms.
So we have a lot of people watching right now, Maxime, and what do you think has captured the heart of definitely a good percentage? The percentage of Canadians now paying attention to you has grown consistently since you took this strategic and very courageous role of leaving the Conservative Party because you felt that they were morally and intellectually corrupt. And now a lot of people are saying, we really, really like Maxime. And so with the onslaught of more and more people following you, this means you're on the debate stage coming up next year. Are you looking forward to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm looking forward for that. I want to debate with Trudeau, but I want to debate also with Polyev. And Polyev is a good communicator, a good politician. And Polyev look at us Canadians as dumb people because the way that he's speaking to us, with little slogan, build houses and cut the budget, without any deep details about that. He's speaking to us with slogan like we are dumb. I'm not doing that. I believe that Canadians are intelligent, and you need to be out there and to explain your policies. They will understand it, and if they like it, they will support you. If not, they won't. But Polyev won't be able to throw all these slogans during a debate. He will have to answer questions, and people will be able to see the real Pierre Polyev during that debate. I can tell you that.
It's interesting to watch what's going on in the United States of America, isn't it, with Kamala Harris? We've been reporting a lot on that. I mean, she's basically just hiding. We want Pierre to be able to answer real questions, and he still gets quite a free pass as well. Answering tough questions is what every politician needs to be able to do. And quite frankly, like Trump is out there nonstop answer. He'll stand in front of any reporter for 2 hours and answer questions. And you've been willing to do the same. You've been willing to talk to every reporter, every newspaper, whoever wants to talk, even if they're not for you. You will answer the questions because you know that you operate with character and integrity. And it is going to be interesting to see when real questions are being asked. I don't think we're asking politicians the real nuts and bolts of what's wrong with this country right now and what we're going through. I think that they get a pass a fair bit as well.
Absolutely, you're right about that. And speaking about the media, I'll give you an example. I was in Winnipeg last Saturday, and I was able to have an interview with the Winnipeg Free Press. That is a real leftist media. And so he was asking me the real questions. He said, Mr. Bernier, I was speaking about immigration, and I told him that we want a moratorium on immigration. And he came back to me and he said, oh, Mr. Bernier, yeah, that's a position only for Canadians. And when you're speaking like that, you're not speaking for all Canadians because the immigrants don't want that. And I said, no, it's not right. What you're saying, it's not based on facts. Look at the survey and the polls about between 45% to 52% of immigrants who are saying the same thing. They think that, open borders policy is not working. We need to end that. And after that conversation with him, that interview with him, he was not believing me about this survey. So I asked my team to send him, I said, I want your email. I asked my team to send all these surveys, 3 of them saying the same thing at different time. And so he had everything to write his piece but he didn't write about that. He didn't write about that because I was right. And that was not in line with the narrative of the newspaper. So that's the challenge that we have. We are in the right side of the argument, and they don't want to print that. But that's why during the debate, I will be able to be out there and ask real questions. And if they want to fact check me after the debate, please do it, because everything will be based on facts that it's always been.
And so are you getting excited and ramped up? Because, this has been quite a journey for you to do this. Did you know, as we kind of wrap up here, but did you know it would be this hard? Were you hoping for an easier path? How is your spirit in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, I knew when I left the Conservative Party of Canada, I knew that it would be difficult. You cannot create a new political party in Canada. It's very difficult because, as you know, there's no proportionality in our electoral system. It's the first past the post, so it's more difficult for young and new political party. And with the platform that we had, I know that it was not that popular with the population in general. So I was elected for 13 years. I know what to do to be elected. And if I wanted to be elected, I just have to tell people what they want to hear. But when we decided to create the People's Party, we decided we're going to create a party based on ideas, on principles, and we'll speak about that. And we won't pander to anybody. And we hope that more people will understand and vote for us. So I knew at that time that doing that will be a long run, a long shot. But I didn't knew that the Conservative Party of Canada, they were so mad at me that they lie about the People's Party. They tried to discredit us. They spent a lot of money to discredit us. So their only goal was to destroy us. It was not to argue with us on ideas. It was to destroy us. And it's still the case. When I did run for the by-election in Portage-Lisgard, the Conservative candidates didn't want to have any debate with me. They didn't want to debate our ideas because that guy knew that these ideas were popular in the riding. So what they did, they tried to discredit me personally by trying to find things that I said when I was a conservative more than 15 years ago and part of the cabinet of Stephen Harper. They were not able to find anything during the time that when I decided to create the People's Party. So they had to go back to when I was a conservative. That is showing you and I didn't think about that the Conservative Party will be so nasty, but that's the reality. And I was right when I said the party is morally and intellectually corrupt. And now, we have more proof of that every day.
I got a lot of noise going on here just for a second. There we go. Okay, Maxime, what do you love about the kind of people that are following you? I bet you've met some real incredible people. And I find that when I'm hanging out with people with the PPC, I'm hanging out with truth tellers. I'm hanging out with people that have tremendous discernment. They understand the times. What are you loving about the people that are choosing the People's Party of Canada?
What I like is our people and these Canadians that are fighting with us, they're there because they strongly believe that we can change this country. They believe in themselves first, and they believe in the country, and they want to have a freer and a more prosperous country. And some of them are working very hard. Look at all the freedom fighters that did that fight with us during the COVID hysteria. They were there, to fight for our Charter of Rights. So when I'm traveling and meeting people, and these people are giving me more energy, they are encouraging me to go on, and because we know that we will win. I'm always saying that we will win, but we don't know when. But our time will come. And with all these people around us that are helping us, and also, they're taking their times to door knock and to speak to their friends and their family about the People's Party. And that's great. That's great. And some of them, I must tell you, that they know our platform maybe better than myself. And that's always great to have a nice discussion and that support. For me, it's why I'm doing politics. I'm doing politics because I have faith in people. I have faith that they can do what they want in their life and without any government interference. And so when they are coming with me and fighting with me, that's giving me the energy to go on. And that's why, I'm there for the long run, and we will win.
Maxime, I just really appreciate you. I just thank you for being such a real stand-up Canadian. In these days, I'm very worried about sort of what we're seeing, the corruption, the lies, the betrayal of our country. the loss of values, the loss of morals, the loss of common sense, and you represent all of the goodness in Canada. I thank you for your stand on very controversial issues. Keep doing it because we're winning. And you know that because more and more people are going, they can't believe you're willing to talk about what Poilievre would never speak on. He will never bring up some of these topics, but you're willing to do it. And I see that as having a trajectory of growth that just goes up and up and up, because just like the immigration issue, sooner or later, the problem is in your face. And it's important to have politicians that are willing to speak candidly on that. I just thank you so much for that, Maxime, and we wish you the very best. We know that your two candidates are out there. You want people to show up at the polls in which of the two ridings?
Winnipeg and Montreal, so La Salle, Montreal, and Winnipeg downtown. So
Okay.
they're ready, they're there. And if you live in one of these ridings, I hope that you'll vote for your values. I hope that you'll support the PPC. And actually, during a by-election, you don't vote to change the government. So you are voting for the person that will represent you in parliament. That will be the same government. Trudeau is in power right now, and he will be in government after the next election. So you have a chance to vote for what you believe and send a strong message to these establishment politicians that enough is enough.
You're so amazing. Thank you for everything, Maxime. We'll see you again. Thanks for giving us time here on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura-Lynn, and I'm very pleased to have that opportunity and to be with you. So I hope I'll be back with you when the time will come, another time. But thank you again, and
Say
have a
hello
nice day.
to the team and Martin. We appreciate you.
I will.
All right.
I will.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And also, Maxime, say hello to your lovely, beautiful, beautiful wife. She is just a treasure and has been there through, the highs and the lows for Maxime. And so she is an incredible person. So all I can say is that, my show is not really about promoting any one party. I hope that I try to give an overview of what all the parties are. But I will tell you that for myself personally, this is what I choose. I choose to go with a party that's willing to talk about the very hard topics, transgenderism, the difficult issues that we wrestle with in our nation, immigration, and this migration that has now become a crisis point in North America, coming up from the borders from the south. I mean, this is a true crisis. They are having difficulties even with crime and the murders that have happened, and everything that they predicted might happen, it is happening. I've had a person contact me, and we're going to have them on the show, and they want their face hidden, but basically they talk to people that were let out of prisons in another country down, below Mexico. And I'll get her permission to share even what country that is, but she's going to come on the show because she, in her travels, met people that the entire prison was let out and they were given passes to get to the United States. And the guy was in jail for a very long time for crimes he had committed. And she's willing to tell about meeting these people and, the truth that that's what's happened. Not only did they let out people from the jails, they've let out people from insane asylums and, very difficult people in the country. They just give them a free pass. Everyone's going to America. All of a sudden, it's just going to be American problems, but it also becomes a Canadian problem as well. And we're just having more and more issues with this now. And I've been talking about some of those, and I hope that you'll catch my video from yesterday as to why I'm not marching in the 100, in the 1 million march, and share that just for clarity on what we're facing in our nation. All right, so J.D. Vance talking to ABC's John Carl about Tim Walz's support of a bill that would allow the state to seize children if the parents do not agree to cross-gender hormones. Take a look.
And finally, before you go, we commit to this race to kind of sticking to the facts. I mean, I heard Donald Trump give this speech in Montana he just gave, and he said that Tim Walz has signed a letter letting the state kidnap children to change their gender, that allowing pedophiles to claim, to be exempt from crimes. I mean, this is not true. It's not remotely true.
Well, what President Trump said, and I haven't watched the whole rally.
What he said was not true.
What President Trump said, John, is that Tim Walz has supported taking children from their parents if the parents don't consent to gender reassignment. That is crazy. And by the way, Tim Walz gets on his high horse about mind your own damn business. One way of minding your own damn business, John, is to not try to take my children away from me if I have different moral views than you. He has not signed a law allowing your state to kidnap children to change their sexual identity. What I just explained to you, I would describe as kidnapping, John. He has absolutely done this stuff. It's not crazy, John. Come on.
It's not what
you should not be able to take people's children away from them.
And that's not what he's proposed.
If you disagree with decisions about gender reassignment, yes, he has proposed that, John. He absolutely has. Now, here's the more important thing, John. Why are we talking about inflation? Why are we talking about the fact that groceries are unaffordable thanks to Kamala Harris's policies, and so is housing? We've talked a little bit about the border. Why are we talking about the fact that the entire world is on fire because Kamala Harris's foreign policy, she's just asleep at the wheel? We have a set of plans. You talk about sticking to the facts. Donald Trump and I have a set of plans to lower the cost of housing and food, to bring peace back to the world with American leadership. That is all that we want to do. And I think it's telling that the Harris administration is focused so much on these side issues instead of on the real substance of why Americans are unhappy with Kamala Harris's leadership.
To be clear, I just asked you about something that Donald Trump brought up, not something that the Harris campaign brought up. I was asking you about Donald Trump's
I'm saying
thank you.
But John, the Harris campaign, what are their policy views? They don't have a policy position on their website. Should she sit down and answer tough questions with you?
Yes,
I think she should.
Absolutely.
Where is she?
Well,
but we respect the American people enough.
We hope she'll be on the show soon.
I hope so too, John, because the person who wants to be our president ought to sit down for some tough interviews. I'm willing to do it, and I wish she would too.
All right, J.D. Vance, thank you for your time. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
John.
it.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I love J.D. Vance. He is just willing to put it out there. All these reporters, they're so ignorant because they don't even know the truth. Think about how even reporters don't know the truth because it's not being reported on the left-wing media, which is the only media that they're checking into. So they don't even know. Like, that's not what he's saying. Oh, actually, it really is. What this Tim Walz, who wants to, they want to promote to be the VP of the United States of America, really wants, besides putting tampons, they call him Tampon Tim, besides putting tampons into boys' bathrooms in grade school, what he really wants is, hey, if you're a parent and you disagree with your child's, wanting to go on to cross-sex hormones or whatever, and you think that's a bad idea, because a lot of people think that's a bad idea, then Tim Walz believes that the state should be able to threaten you with taking your kids away and potentially do so. This is the reality of this crazy group down there. Kamala Harris, she wants to make sure that everyone gets their transgender surgery in jail. Well, guess what? We already do that. In Canada, we're already paying for everyone to get their transgender surgery in our jails. You're paying for it with our taxes. And by the way, maybe they can just print money to cover our taxes. That would be super cool since you're in the mood for that. But these are things we have to be willing to have tough conversations about. I know for a fact that they're covering the transgender surgeries. I mean, that is a $50,000 to $100,000 cost to us. I mean, my identity is to be a more beautiful woman, a little slimmer, to have a better nose. I have always had a bigger nose. My identity is to have a smaller nose. I want that surgery covered. I want to be able to fix myself. I bet a lot of women have identities that struggle because they don't feel like they measure up. Well, how about we just get everyone an identity? We could call it an identity surgery. Everyone gets identity surgeries. Now that's a politician that I could vote for. And I think maybe I'll send that little request over to Maxime. And I think Maxine will send me a note saying, no, that's not going to happen. All right, so there's a new Trump ad showing Kamala Harris debating herself. It's so good. Take a look.
Everyday prices are too high. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes. That is called Bidenomics. A loaf of bread cost 50% more today. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's not much left at the end of the month. Bidenomics is working. The price of housing has gone up. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's so funny. Like, she's running around saying, on day one, I will change this on day one. And then they've got the border, Trump's border wall is in her ads. And now she's talking like she's for a border wall. When she clearly, absolutely denounced it and ridiculed Trump regarding the border wall. So now that they've let in 12 to 15 million people and it's not popular, now, I'm going to be tough on this. Day one, you are the vice president. You could do it now. It's just absolutely, it's hysterical to watch. It's like we're watching some kind of crazy movie in the making. And what's wrong, JT? Oh, I don't think it is. So Glenn Beck and Trump official Corey Lewandowski talking about the strange Kamala Harris campaign. Take a look.
I'm hearing people say, I don't care if she doesn't have any policies or she does any interviews. She just has to be elected. Well, that's voting for a machine. That's voting for an oligarchy.
Does it make any difference?
You're voting for people you didn't vote for and you don't know what they're really going to do. Is she going to be able to get away with either just really softball interviews or no interviews and no policy being stated?
Well, it sure looks like that, Glenn. I mean, look, she was, on the 8th of this month, she said she hoped to be able to sit down for an interview by the end of the month. We're running out of days. She's now going to sit down with her running mate to some outlet, which I'm sure is going to give her the questions ahead of time, just like they gave Hillary Clinton the questions ahead of time during the debate. And then she's going to come across as, a person who has continuously changed their positions. She's changing her position that we know of from when she ran 4 years ago. And she's changing her position from when she was simply the vice president of the United States, in the last week. And we haven't heard from her.
Yeah, she isn't changing her positions. Her staff is saying she's changed. The latest is she's all for the border wall now. What?
Come on.
Yeah.
No, nobody honestly believes that. Nobody honestly believes her idea was no tax on tips. Right? Nobody believes she's actually for the border wall. Nobody believes that she doesn't think Biden economics is what the process is going forward. People do believe, and they should, that she wants to have price controls. She's a Marxist on a good day. And the problem is the media has covered for her, just like they covered for Joe Biden's cognitive decline until the American people saw it with their own eyes when he went on that debate stage. And they're going to see with Kamala when she has to debate Donald Trump. Look, Glenn, you know this. She wants to sit down for the debates. She wants to bring notes to the debates. She wants to have a hot mic on the debate so she can say, I'm speaking. Let me finish, Mr. Trump, which is the business that she pulled last time she was running for office.
Right.
That's right. They're taking the hot mic off. So what it looks like is in an upcoming debate between Trump and Kamala, she wanted to make sure she had the hot mic because that means that you can goad, you can speak back, you can insert, pathetic things. So they wanted that. And then she also wanted to have notes and she wanted to be able to sit down. And I think that they've said no to all of it. And so that'll be interesting. And then Trump is saying, well, for the Fox debate, which she hasn't agreed to yet because she probably doesn't want to be on Fox. But for that debate, I think Trump's saying, listen, you can have your hot mic. Just come on. Let's just do it. So, I just love his courage. It's terrific. One more. Kevin O'Leary wants to know why Kamala Harris will not talk to the press.
There is no scenario where the president of the United States can't head up a press conference. Under any scenario, every president has been able to address the press, and in the good times and the bad times. She has to start talking to the press. Period. There's no optionality. There's no scenario where anybody would be comfortable, particularly in the swing states where swing voters are thinking to myself, what do we got here? Why won't she talk to the press? I'm asking it from a policy guy. I need explanations for these policies because I have to invest on these policies. I have questions and I don't get any answers. I'm not being unreasonable. Come out wherever you are and talk to the press.
Well, they are all mocking her, people in the left-wing media, because they get eyes on their station when they've got a big interview. And who doesn't want to hear what Kamala Harris policies are? And, one guy was saying, oh, well, no, she's not for defunding the police anymore. And they said, how do you know? How do you know? We haven't heard from her. She hasn't said one word about it. We have some office person in her office saying, oh, yeah, she's not for that. We haven't heard from Kamala Harris at all. For fracking, against fracking. She just changes like the wind. And of course, if she thinks that the chameleon people want a certain thing and they're going to vote for that, then she'll become that. She is the chameleon, Kamala, Comrade Harris. All right. So this is one final story, and this is a really interesting story here in Canada. Remember that ArriveCan? So that was the craziest thing. Didn't a couple of kids put that together, totally failed in their basement or something? They couldn't even find, and it was millions and millions of Canadian tax dollars. I mean, over the top. Like you and I's tax amount that we are, at a loss for every single month, that all went ArriveCan. They just had to have this ArriveCan that everyone hated, even the left-wingers. So, interestingly, an Amish community in Ontario is facing over $400,000 in fines for not using that ghastly, I'm going to say corrupt ArriveCan. Take a look.
What's so incredible is I sat down for a meeting for about 90 minutes with the head of the community. He showed me that in the 74 families in this community, they have $400,000 in fines. And here's what's new. Here's what I have never seen before in all of our stories involving the ArriveCan app. Because these folks here are not getting emails, they're not getting phone calls, collections agents, they have nowhere to phone. So what they've done is they have attached a lien on the title deeds of these homes, a kind of legal encumbrance, without telling the folks here. That's the crazy thing. I was told about a young Amish farmer who went to the bank to get a bank loan to buy some cattle. He was told by the bank officer, I can't do that. Did you know that there is a lien on your property for thousands of dollars for the ArriveCan? And the Amish man said, what? So not only were they harassed into using this app that they couldn't use, not only were they persecuted because they have a religious exemption because of their religion, but I've never seen this before. The province of Ontario went ahead and tagged homes, not this particular home, but homes in this community, stopping families from changing the title from father to son on a farm, stopping families from using the farm to get a loan to operate their farm. I've never seen such a punitive, bureaucratic, bullying example in my life.
Great story, Ezra. Wow, that is nuts. That is just nuts. This needs to end. I hope that you'll share this broadcast. We sure want to share Maxime Bernier's interview out. Share this broadcast with all the fun. And that's just crazy. That is just another example of our justice governmental system being completely idiotic in Canada. Time for change, for sure. So my website is Laura-Lynn.tv. Thank you very much for joining me. And for all of you who love this kind of show, what do you think? Do you think you'd be able to maybe donate $10 a month to help us? Would you be able to go to that donate button and do $10, $5, 20? Could you do 100? That'd be awesome. Can you make a one-time donation to help us do what we do? That'd be terrific. If you can do $20 or more per month, then we're going to send you my book, which is Relentless Redemption. It's my very personal story of how I got here. Some of you might look at me and you think, oh, everything's okay for her. She gets to have fun and sit in front of the camera and talk to great people like we had on today. But actually, the truth of it is it was a very long journey and some really horrible things happened along the way. A lot of pain and a lot of brokenness and a lot of failure. And along that journey is where I found out what really matters in life, and that it was God's relentless redemption that set me free, that he took away the shame and the pain that I was feeling over some mistakes that were made. And so many of you don't know that part of my story, but I will send that to you. If you could help us out with $20 a month or more, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you for helping us do what we do. We're about to take this little show and put it on Daystar, and that will be Daystar in Canada. And we're going to be like in the early mornings because it's cheaper in the early mornings. And so we're going to give that a shot, maybe build up to be on at a better time. Sorry, I'm hitting the mic, aren't I? But you know, we're not going to despise small beginnings at this hour. We're going to do what we can do to make this all really, really happen. We love doing this. We love bringing you the truth. And the stuff that you hear here, you will not hear on the news. And so if you value this, would you think about going to lauralynnlive.tv? It's lauralynn.tv. And click on that donate button and give us a hand. Other ways are through snail mail, box 1065 in Chilliwack, British Columbia, V2R 3N7. If you can shove Vetter Crossing in there, it helps, but I'm still getting my mail, so it's all good. Box 1065. And if you'd like to send me an email with a little gift, that would be fantastic. llttlive@pm.me. And remember, you get a tax receipt. So at the end of the year, when it's time to pay your taxes, well, next April, you get a tax receipt because you supported a show that was helping people to understand the power and the truth of what is really real. And that is that God is real and he's going to help us. And I pray all the time for our country that we would one day get a leader as courageous as Maxime Bernier put into power. And I think we should all use our prayers to do that, because one of the things that the Bible says is you don't have because you don't ask. So make sure you ask. I ask for everything. And, you know, God says no to a lot of stuff. But then I just keep asking and I get a few things that slip in. And so it's awesome. If you need some Ivermectin or Hydroxychloroquine, just contact Mia at SozoHealth at proton.me. And also there's a way that you can get some antibiotics. So let's say that, you know, we have a catastrophe in our country and you can't get to a doctor, and I don't know, maybe earthquakes, one of those big asteroids, hits the planet. You might want to make sure you've got your own doses of some antibiotics so that in an emergency, you're able to use those. And if you want to do that, then sales@larksmedical.com. And regarding those dollars that you have in your bank account that Maxime Bernier was talking about, that we're printing money, everyone knows sooner or later, the gig's up. So for that point in time, make sure you've got some real money, which is gold and silver, Sun City Silver, to protect your assets, to protect what you have. Don't keep a lot of cash around, because sooner or later, have you ever played Monopoly, right? Sooner or later, the game's over, somebody won all their Monopoly money, and when you fold up the game, it doesn't matter because it wasn't worth anything. So we're kind of in that game right now. I want to leave you today with a really powerful part of the word, and that's in 1 Peter 4, verse 7. And it says this, the end of all things is near. Wow. This was written 2,000 years ago, approximately. The end of all things is near, even more so today than then. Therefore, be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. Be alert and sober-minded. That's why we tell the truth every day, because there's something about the truth that wakes you up. You know, when you go to the doctor's office and you know you haven't been feeling well and all that, you kind of been putting it off, and you sit in front of the doctor and they say, listen, we've got a serious problem. You know, your white blood cells are super low and it's at a very serious rate, and we need to take action. You know, when the doctor tells you and he gives you that truth moment so you know what you have to do? Well, that's being sober-minded. That's being awakened to what is actually going on. And that is the very point at which you can begin doing the right things to take care, because you know what the truth is, because you're sober-minded. It's so easy to just put your head in the sand, keep on drinking all your lattes. You know, you got the best car, you got the best house, you're racking up your bills and living the dream, pretending that nothing is wrong, pretending that some of the things that our government is doing, oh well, it'll all sort out in the wash. No. It's time to stand. It's time to speak boldly with your mouth against what is coming against our families. The loss of morals, the loss of values, the loss of the beauty of life because of the fear that everyone feels. It's time to have a wake-up call. And with that wake-up call, to understand that actually there's someone large and in charge of all of this, and you don't have to worry. The biggest way that I get through all the information dissemination that we have to do every day is that I understand there's probably not much we can do about it, but we can be aware, we can pray, we can make decisions and choices that make a difference in our life. And this is what it says next, which I think is such powerful advice for each and every one of us. It says this: above all, above all, love each other deeply. So very difficult, isn't it? Above all, love each other deeply. This is in 1 Peter 4, verse 8. Because love covers a multitude of sins. It's so easy to get mad, try to blame someone. It's so easy to just be difficult with those that you live with, right, JT? We have those little moments, no? Here and there. And we struggle with being kind. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. No more 6-inch rule. No more separation, everybody. Greet one another with a holy kiss and a big hug, and love deeply. Take care. You know, it's not easy to deliver the truth of what our sick world is doing, but for some of us, we feel that we have no choice. Because if we are silent about these abominable things, then we are letting evil go unchecked, and we cannot do that. For those of you wonderful people who are writing me and are sharing your encouragement, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for all the letters that you've been sending. Thank you for the donations and the support. I found out that in order to speak the truth, you have to become very, very strong. If you would go to my website at www.laura-lynn.tv, you'll find all of the ways that you can contact me. Remember, my friends, all is well. All is well. Thanks for joining me.